Minutes executive producer Jeff Fager joins me now on CBS 4 and CBSDenver.com. Now, you've written a book, 50 Years of 60 Minutes. And, you know, it's easy to say you've done a marvelous job of imparting stories that carry forth the Don Hewitt mantra, tell me a story. Now you take on a book. There have to be so many things that go along with that. What can we glean from this book overall about 60 Minutes and the people who make it?
Well, I hope that it captures the characters that have come through our broadcast over all the years. So many amazing people. I mean, you mentioned Don Hewitt, Mike Wallace. These are Morley Safer, Ed Bradley. These are great individuals who were incredible broadcast journalists, and we're lucky to work with them. And I hope that the book captures them. I think it does in a way that may surprise you. Someone like Mike Wallace, who was kind of tough and on the air and just full of life and antics, and that's what he was like off the air. I mean, he was constantly teasing everybody around the place and trying to draw the best out of everybody, and again, a larger-than-life character, many of them.
It makes me curious how you massage all these personalities to get the best work out of them. I mean, you've got to treat Morley different than Mike, and Andy different than Ed, and all the other folks. I mean, but there's this overriding theme, right?
Yeah, there is. It's sort of a lion tamer, and I think that first of all, Alan, you mentioned them, and I start thinking about them. I miss them so much. I mean, I loved Andy Rooney and Mike and Morley and Ed, Don. Working with all of them was an incredible honor. And, I think that what I'm proudest of really is that in writing about them and in going over my memories of them, I think they would be very proud of what we're putting on the air every Sunday night, and that matters to us.
And that's the great thing with journalism taking a beating. I don't think that's any secret. 60 Minutes does the basics so well. The stories, it's not graphics, it's stories, it's human stories. Talk about the importance of that, the humans in your stories.
Well, they are important, and I think that we try to be very narrow in our stories. We don't cover issues, we tell stories. And, the simplicity of it is important. I like to think that as we're editing the story that, look, you can't go back and read that paragraph again. We'd better make it very clear to the viewer what we're talking about and what this story is about. So that process is painstaking, and I go about it, I write about it in the book. It can be an intense process. In screening a story. I remember Don Hewitt said to me once when he screened our story, Steve Croft and me 30 years ago, he looked at me and he said, "Where do you want a kid? Right between the eyes?" He didn't like it. He hated it. And, that's the kind of place it is. It's very direct, and it's never personal. It's always been about making the stories better.
Is it harder to ask a difficult question now than it was 20 or 30 years ago? And I remember how confrontational 60 Minutes was.
Yeah, well, in some ways it was too confrontational. Mike Wallace regretted some of the ambushes that he did, and that was a period. That's an example of evolving. We don't believe in gotcha journalism, and I think for a period we were doing it and learned from it. The history of 60 Minutes is the history of broadcast journalism. We've come a long way, and what I think is fascinating about Don Hewitt and Mike Wallace, they were very introspective. They were constantly trying to figure out how can we be better, and would often talk about it openly in public. And when they stopped ambushing people, which is what they did for 3 or 4 years on a regular basis, they admitted that it was there was not much value in it, that it became too much about the show.
Well, to this day, there's nothing better than a hard question from 60 Minutes and a great story. So, Jeff Fager, thanks very much.
And by the way, I think that, you bet. Thank you, Alan.
Okay. You want to get something else in? I apologize.
No, I know. I was just going to say that's what we try to do in every interview is ask a tough question and use Mike Wallace as the model. It's a huge part of what we're about.
The book is 50 Years of 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes airs 6 o'clock Sundays right here on CBS 4. Jeff Fager, thanks very much.